History is written by the victors. In the history of cinema, the victors of the 1960s were the icons of the new wave, Godard, Truffaut, and Romer. But in the shadows of their legendary movement lived a filmmaker who was perhaps more visually daring and emotionally raw than any of them. His name was Guy Gilles, a man who was called the secret child of the new wave, or the Proust of cinema. For decades, his work remained a whispered secret, marginalized by an industry that didn't know where to place him. But in his 1965 debut, L'amour à la sea, Love at Sea, he left behind a masterpiece that feels less like a movie and more like a vivid, aching memory. How does a film featuring the greatest stars of its era, Alain Delon, Jean-Pierre Léaud, and Romy Schneider, simply disappear for 50 years? To understand the tragedy of Guy Gilles, we have to look at the plastic poetry he created and the way he captured a world that was already beginning to forget itself. Guy Gilles was born in Algiers and moved to Paris in 1960.
Paris le 2 novembre. Paris est tout jaune. J'aime Paris en automne.
He didn't just want to tell stories, he believed cinema was first and foremost a plastic art. He famously called the camera an eye in the poet's head. While his contemporaries were tearing down the rules of cinema with radical politics and jump cuts, Gilles was obsessed with the gaze. He was a filmmaker of interiority. He was less interested in what his characters did and more interested in how they saw the world. In Love at Sea, Gilles introduced a formal device that was revolutionary for its time. He inverted the language of film. Usually, the past is black and white, and the present is color. Gilles did the opposite. He filmed the present-day narrative in muted, bleak black and white, representing the disconnected reality of 1960s Paris. But the memories, the flashbacks, they erupt in vibrant, saturated color. For Gilles, the lived moment is often drained of intensity, while the past is the only place where life is truly vivid. The story is deceptively simple. A sailor named Daniel returns from 5 years of naval service, a period marked by the trauma of the Algerian War, to reunite with Genevieve, a girl who has waited for him in Paris. But their love doesn't end with a grand argument. It simply evaporates.
Jamais je ne t'oublierai.
The film explores what critics have called the cruelty of time's indifference. Daniel is a drifting outsider, a man haunted by the displacement of his past in Algeria. When he and Genevieve embrace, they don't look like lovers, they look like marble statues, rigid and fragile, as if they might crack. As a quote from Romy Schneider in the film puts it,
Écoute, les jours vont passer. Nous serons très loin l'un de l'autre. Tu oublieras très vite. C'est ton genre. Très vite.
There is a deeper, more private layer to this film. Though it was made in an era of strict categories, Love at Sea is a pioneer of what we now call queer cinema. Guy Gilles cast himself as Daniel's close friend, Guy. Their bond is the most authentic relationship in the film, superseding the failing heterosexual romance. In a final, haunting letter heard in voiceover, Daniel speaks of his freedom to choose, to change, to be different.
Je t'aime bien. Au fond, nous étions moins différents que nous le pensions. J'aimerais te revoir. Merci. Si tu en as envie, écris-moi. Toi, tu as mon adresse. Je te répondrai.
For a long time, Guy Gilles was incomprehensibly excluded from film history. His lack of overt political militancy in the late 60s was mistaken for naivete. He died in 1996 from AIDS-related complications, still largely marginalized. But history is finally catching up. Following a major restoration in 2014, Love at Sea has been reclaimed as a hidden gem. It is a film for the seers, the dreamers, and the solitary drifters. It reminds us that even if time is cruel and memories fade, cinema has the power to freeze a moment of tenderness forever. Guy Gilles may have been the secret child of the new wave, but his vision is no longer a secret. It's a map of the human heart, waiting for you to find it. Thanks for watching the video, and be sure to subscribe. I'll see y'all next time.